Hello again, Dan Alasso with History for Today. And today I will be beginning my first section of my new handbook and my video series about note-taking and research and writing. And this is the first section about note-taking. And I want to begin by re-emphasizing again that I really believe that writing is thinking. So I'll begin with a couple of epigrams. First, he who understands also loves, notices, sees. The more knowledge is inherent in a thing, the greater the love. And that actually is from Paracelsus, who lived from 1493 to 1541. And here's a more recent one. Now, a few words on looking for things. When you go looking for something specific, your chances of finding it are very bad. Because of all the things in the world, you're only looking for one of them. When you go looking for anything at all, your chances of finding it are very good. Because of all the things in the world, you're sure to find some of them. And that is from the comedy movie The Zero Effect from 1998. Now, we've already said this, but it's a key point, so I'm going to repeat it again here. In a very real way, writing is thinking. In our experience, writing something down in a way that makes sense is how we determine that we really have understood a topic or a point. It's also the first step in making that idea our own. Although we will continue to give the originators of ideas credit with appropriate citation, when we can express an idea in our own words, it's on its way to becoming ours. You've probably heard often that the best way to test your knowledge of something is to teach it to somebody else. And this is the same concept, but a little bit earlier in that process. There are several stages of this process, and as you move through them, the ideas actually will become progressively more your own, because you'll be progressing from just recording data to interpreting that data, and then ultimately to making it relevant to your own interests or project. Generally, the basic steps in this process are first to highlight a text and write a set of reading notes, and second, to review your reading notes to create permanent notes. Now, in some cases, there may be a third step in which you create what some people have called evergreen notes, which contain a distilled insight about something that you consider to be very important. This might be the type of idea that could direct a research project, or become the theme or the thesis of an essay, or even of a book. And although it will obviously vary depending on the type of content you're working with, the ratio of these types of notes will probably contract sharply as you make them your own. You can probably expect to reduce the number of reading notes to permanent notes by about an order of magnitude, and then to do the same with evergreen notes. In other words, for every 100 reading notes, you may produce 10 permanent notes and only a single evergreen note. And this is actually a pretty good result if after making note on just 100 interesting points in a text, you manage to achieve an important insight. And obviously, the more reading notes you take, the more insights you can expect to gain. So if the first step in creating new knowledge and then reporting on it is finding sources and learning from texts, the very first question of all might be, what is a text? For our purposes, a text is any statement that you run into in written or spoken form. One of the two epigrams at the beginning came from a centuries-old book, and the other came from a recent movie. Many scholars in specialized fields consider images or artworks or even music to be a text that they can analyze, and they have specialized tools with which to do that. At the very least, though, in the context of a class, anything that you read in a textbook, in an assigned reading, in a primary source, or even a lecture is a text. Professors obviously don't just get in front of a class and talk randomly. They have a plan. So you can take notes on what an instructor says and then review those notes later and understand the structure. Even a discussion can be a source of valuable notes, especially if people have prepared their arguments well. All the material that you're putting into the mill and grinding up and analyzing and rearranging and thinking about and turning into new knowledge counts. As readers and writers and students of life, we should be constantly looking for new information to expand our understanding, thinking about texts and analyzing them all the time. Really, try not to ever passively accept anything that you're told or what you read. Ask questions. Look for evidence that might corroborate or challenge claims. And then compare what you're reading or hearing with things that you've heard before, things that you've read, things that you believe. And write your thoughts down. Because again, writing is thinking. And to be effective, I would argue, thinking should be writing. We've probably all experienced an aha moment when things that we've been pondering suddenly all fit together and make sense. But how often have we lost that insight because we didn't write it down and then we forgot it? Also, trust me on this, the aha moments become more frequent and more rewarding when you're writing stuff down. So once you've discovered a text that you're going to process for its ideas, then analyzing the text is the same as analyzing anything else. You take it apart and see if you can determine what it's supposed to do and how it does its job. Author W.H. Auden demystified both literature and criticism when he said, "Here is a verbal contraption. How does it work?" We all learned in an English class that authors use the tools of plot, imagery, symbolism, and allusion to express ideas and values in literature. Sometimes we forget that authors of nonfiction do this too, using pretty much the same set of language tools. This is how reporters write the news, and this is how historians tell stories. Even physicists, when they leave equations behind and try to describe their discoveries to the rest of us in plain English, find themselves using analogies and metaphors and all of the language tools that we all use. So we're really doing two related things in this handbook, in this video series, showing you how to analyze someone else's writing and showing you how to write yourself. Writing an interpretive essay uses a subset of these language tools. So as you're learning to recognize how authors do it, remember that you're going to be doing it as well. In the next section, we will dig deeper into evaluating sources and taking reading notes. But that's all for now. So I hope people have found this a little bit interesting. Thanks very much for listening. I'll see you again next time.